Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've given people enough opportunity to make their way to this meeting. Can I welcome everyone to today's meeting? Some colleagues will be coming on later. We can never quite fix exactly the debates that are going to take place at the time of meetings, and we have the London Local Authorities Bill, which obviously involves a number of London members of Parliament in that matter of concern, so they'll be able to come on when they're not in the chamber. But I'd like to particularly welcome you.
The microphones be turned on, please. We can't quite hear.
Right. I'll just talk a bit nearer so you can hear me. I'd like to, on your behalf, very much welcome the main event of today's meeting, and to very much welcome the Minister for Cyprus Foreign Affairs, Dr Erato Kozakou Marcoullis, who is very welcome today at a very important time, given the conclusion of the talks in the United Nations. Dr Erato Kozakou Marcoullis has been in her post since 5th of August 2011 and has served in a variety of positions, both in government and in the diplomatic service, both as Minister of Communications and Works as 2nd March 2010, and then no stranger to the negotiations, the UN-sponsored negotiations, indeed when she was head of the Working Group on Property since 2008. She also served as Minister of Foreign Affairs between July 2007 and February 2008, and also previously served between 2003 and 2007 as Director of the Cyprus Question, and before that served as Ambassador to the United States, and also before that as Ambassador to Sweden, along with a long and distinguished diplomatic career. Also, there's been obviously great experience in relation to lecturing extensively, both at universities and think tanks across the world. So very much appreciate your experience and the opportunity that we have, and a very timely opportunity to be able to hear from the Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is indeed my pleasure, but also my honor to be here. This is the first time I visit the House of Commons. Of course, I had several contacts and several relationships with members of the House of Commons throughout the years of my career as a diplomat, but also in my previous term as Foreign Minister. But this is a very important moment, I think, that we are gathering together, and I hope that we will have a good opportunity to exchange views. This is why I'm going to say a few remarks as a start, and then I think it would be better if we can engage in some dialogue, because I think already we know, especially on the Cyprus question, I'm not going to make a lecture about the Cyprus question. I think all the elements of the Cyprus problem are well known. I will say a few words about these current negotiations, and also a few words about this new discovery of hydrocarbons in our exclusive economic zone, which I think provides a unique opportunity for peace and prosperity and development for the whole island. A better future for the whole island, but for the whole people of Cyprus. And here, of course, I include also the Turkish Cypriot community, which is an indispensable part of our people. And this is, I want to stress this point, because Turkish Cypriots are our compatriots. We feel that they are an indispensable part of our people, of the people of Cyprus, and of course this prosperity and this new wealth, which is a wealth for the Republic of Cyprus and the people of Cyprus as a whole. We hope that by the time we are in a position really to get revenue from this wealth, that our country will be reunited, so that we can be able to share together this new prospect for prosperity and for wealth for our island and for our people. Also, I will say a few words at the end about our presidency of the Council of the European Union. This is a very historic moment for us since we joined the European Union in 2004. This is the first time that our island, our small island, will undertake this huge responsibility of presiding over the Council of the European Union. We are in the process of preparation, but I will say a few words about some of our priorities and how we are going to promote these priorities during the 6-month presidency of Cyprus. But on the Cyprus issue and on the negotiations, let me say first of all that our vision, our main objective is to reunite our country. I personally feel that the present situation of division of our country, division of our people, division of the two communities is totally unnatural. I happen to come from a generation of Cypriots that I have experienced the living together of the two communities. And this living together, from my own experience, it was a peaceful one. And especially as we go back, my parents and my grandparents, it was even more peaceful. And throughout the period of the coexistence of the two communities, from 1571 onwards, the period of conflict or the period of problems in the relations was just a tiny part of the otherwise peaceful coexistence of the two communities. So I just wanted to mention that because we tend to concentrate on the period of the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And we tend to forget the very long period of peaceful coexistence. And this peaceful coexistence, we have evidence. We have evidence in our language. We use so many Turkish words in our Greek Cypriot dialect. And from what I understand, also the Turkish Cypriots use a lot of Greek words in their Turkish Cypriot dialect, which are, in a sense, different from the mainland languages. Of course, they belong to the same language groups, but we have our own characteristics of Cypriotness. Also, the fact that in all the mixed villages in Cyprus, and of course the towns that, as you know, they were all mixed, you could see the mosque next to the church, and that was another evidence of peaceful coexistence over the centuries, because most of these mosques and most of these churches were there for centuries. So yes, we had a very difficult part in our modern history, and we have both suffered. There are wounds on both sides that need to be healed. But how are we going to heal them? We think that the way to heal them is to bring the two communities together again, to reunite our country. We are a European country. We are a European people. So we need really to exert an effort to find that settlement which will guarantee a peaceful coexistence, a secure coexistence for both communities in a reunited country, in a European country. A country that will respect the rights of all communities of Cyprus, and a right that will secure this better future for all Cypriots. We have agreed after 1974 that we will change our unitary system to a federal system. And that was, for us, the Greek Cypriots, that was a very painful decision. But in the wisdom of our then leader, Archbishop Makarios, that was the only solution that could bring the two communities together. I personally believe that a federal system is the right system for countries like ours that have these different communities of different ethnic backgrounds, religions, language. And we have seen this in a number of other countries that have this differentiation in the mix of the population. And it's a system that can work. It's a system that has proven to be workable and that has brought these differences to a solution and has brought these different groups to a harmonious living together. So I am a strong believer in federation. We have agreed that it will be a bizonal federation, meaning that there will be two constituent parts of the federation. In the United States, we have 50 constituent parts. In Cyprus, we will have one constituent part which will be administered by the Turkish Cypriots and another which will be administered by the Greek Cypriots. And this is the meaning of bizonality, as we understand it, and as the United Nations understand it. And it will be bicommunal. Definitely it will be bicommunal because both communities will be participating in an effective way in the governance of this federal state. So these elements, the bizonality and the bicommunality, should not be interpreted as separating the two communities, but reuniting the two communities in a federal structure. So this is what we are aiming at. We are aiming at, and I'm talking about the Greek Cypriot community, we are aiming at a genuine federation. Federation like we see it in 25 other countries around the world. There are different models, and each model, of course, is different. But they have certain common elements, which are the federal elements, and these are the elements that bring all these different parts together, working together, living together, prospering together, not separated. And of course, the difficulties we have been encountering over the years, but also we are encountering right now, is this difference of approach between our Turkish Cypriot compatriots, and I'm talking about the leadership of the Turkish Cypriots, and our approach. Our approach is more to bring together, living together, coexistence in one country, and just to remind what has already been agreed by the international community, that it will be one country with one sovereignty. These are some of the characteristics of a federal state. One sovereignty, one international personality, one citizenship. These are the three elements that are common in all federal constitutions around the world. It will be bizonal, bicommunal, as I explained, and there will be political equality as defined in the Security Council resolutions, meaning the participation of both communities, the effective participation of both communities in all the federal organs of the state. So this is what we are aiming at now. And of course our proposals as Greek Cypriot community aim at this particular objective of a federal, a bizonal, bicommunal federal state. And this goes through all the chapters, from the governance to the property, to all the chapters that are currently being discussed in the negotiations. Now, unfortunately, although during I'm talking now about the most recent round of negotiations, which has been going on for the past 3.5 years, there was some good progress during the first 2 years of the negotiations, especially with the leadership of the leader of the Turkish Cypriots, Mehmet Ali Talat. I happen to have participated in a number of these meetings as head of the Greek Cypriot team on the property. And I have witnessed the very good atmosphere, but also the willingness on the part of both communities at that time to build bridges and to find a way to bridge the differences. And in fact, there were a number of very important agreements, or as they are called, convergences, on a number of key issues in these negotiations. Now, we had the change of leadership in the Turkish Cypriot community, and unfortunately, despite the fact that the new leader, Mr. Eroglu, committed himself in front of the Secretary General that he would honor these previous agreements with Mr. Talat and the previous convergences with Mr. Talat. Unfortunately, on most of these issues, there was serious backtracking, and especially on some of the difficult issues. And I will mention here, for example, the governance, and especially on the executive power. There was a very serious backtracking. Also on other issues regarding sovereignty, regarding the issue of FIR, the Flight Information Region, which is considered in all federal states. There is only one federal flight information region for every country. Here there was a backtracking, and now the positions are very different, aiming towards two separate flight information regions. But these are some of the examples. There are numerous other examples of change of the position of the leadership of the Turkish Cypriot. Now, we are at the stage that there are still a lot of differences, especially on the three chapters, which is governance, territory, property, 4 chapters, and citizenship. This is where we still have some serious problems and some serious differences. We have already reached some very good agreements on economy, which is good, European Union, and internal security. Now, these are the internal aspects of the Cyprus problem. We still have the international aspects of the Cyprus problem, which is security, the security of the state, and of course we have the issue of the guarantees, and how we also safeguard the implementation of a settlement. This is another big issue. Now, there has been already an agreement, and this was also recorded in the Security Council, especially in the last Security Council resolution, that we will go to an international conference when an agreement has been reached on the internal aspects of the problem, the ones I mentioned already. And of course this is logical, because an international conference is meant to deal with the international aspects of the problem. Now, unfortunately, we have not been able, as I said, to reach an agreement on the internal aspects. So it is very premature to say that we can go now to an international conference. I cannot say much about what went on during the 2 days of meetings between the two leaders with the Secretary General. I think that Probably now the Secretary General is making a statement to the press in New York, so I don't want to say anything about what the Secretary General will say. From what I understand, there has not been progress during these 2 days of negotiations with the Secretary General, but I think we have to wait until the Secretary General makes a statement and see what is the next step forward. Our hope is that the process would continue. We have to give, as we always say, peace a chance, because this is a very important procedure that we are going through. I always describe it as a procedure for drafting a new constitution. We are actually drafting a new constitution for our country. And especially we are changing our constitution from a unitary state to a federal state. And this is not an easy undertaking. It's a very serious undertaking, very serious responsibility on the part of the leaders of both communities. And of course, taking into account the difficulties that have accumulated throughout these painful for both communities years. So we have to find a way, we have to find, to reach an agreement that will be agreeable to both communities. We cannot impose an agreement, we cannot impose a constitution. We saw what happened in 1960. 1960 was a constitution which was not drafted by the people, for the people, as every constitution should be. It was a constitution that was drafted by the three guarantor powers without the participation of the actual people of Cyprus. So this time we have to do it right. We have to do it right. We have to reach an agreement that both communities will feel comfortable, because this is the agreement and this is the constitution that will guide us not only for this generation but also generations to come. So it has to be workable, it has to be functional, it has to be an agreement and a settlement that will stand in the European Union, because we are a part of the European Union, we are not outside the European Union. So it has to stand the rules and the principles of the European Union, especially with regard to the four freedoms, especially with regard to some other very important principles that governs the European Union. So our position is that we have to allow as much time as needed. I hope not to be prolonged, because the more prolongation we have, the more fait accompli we have on the ground, unfortunately, especially with the issue of the settlers, and this is something that I feel very strongly about. We are seeing almost on a daily basis a change of the character of the area in the north, and I see this also from my contacts with the Turkish Cypriots. I have a lot of Turkish Cypriot compatriots, very dear friends, and I share with them this anxiety of prolongation of this issue, the overwhelming presence of settlers, that they feel that they are losing their identity as Turkish Cypriots. So this is one of the aspects. The other aspect, negative aspect of the prolongation is the issue of the properties. The more time passes, the more these properties, especially the Greek Cypriot properties, are being sold, are being used by others than the legal and lawful owners of these properties. We know that there has been extensive construction on Greek Cypriot properties, and of course these are all obstacles that are on the way of solving this very important issue, which is the poverty issue. And of course there are the other issues, the cultural heritage, which is being destroyed and so on. Now, on the hydrocarbons, I will say a few things. You're probably informed about the results of this recent exploratory drilling that was concluded. It seems that not only this particular block, but the whole area, not only in our exclusive economic zone, but also the exclusive economic zone of Egypt, Israel, Lebanon, and Syria. This is an area that is very rich in hydrocarbons. Based on a survey conducted by the US Geological Society just 2 years ago, it seems that this whole area, which is the Levantine Basin, as it is called in the eastern part, and the Upper Nile Basin, which is north of Egypt, all this area has approximately 400 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and about 8 to 9 billion barrels of oil. So this is considered a very substantial quantity of hydrocarbons, which could really bring to the whole area, especially through cooperations between all the countries that I have mentioned, a new future, a more prosperous future, hopefully a more peaceful future. And this is something that we have been pursuing over these past few years. First of all, with 3 of our neighbors, we have concluded the very important delineation of the exclusive economic zone agreements. But now we are in the process, we are finalizing with Israel a very important agreement on the joint exploitation of hydrocarbons. And we are proceeding also with the same agreements with Egypt and Lebanon. So through these cooperations, through this joint exploration and exploitation, we feel that the whole Eastern Mediterranean can be transformed into a more prosperous, a more peaceful region for the benefit, of course, of the people of these regions. Finally, I will say a few words about our presidency. As I mentioned, this is a huge responsibility for us. It's a very significant challenge for Cyprus, a small country, but an active participant in the European making. So we are preparing very vigorously, trying to organize as best as we can the presidency. We are going to have on our agenda, of course, the inherited agenda from the previous presidencies, one very important issue for the whole of Europe, which is the multi-annual financial framework. This is one of the most significant issues. It's a kind of a long-term budget of the European Union. So this multi-annual financial framework must be concluded by December of 2012. So the main task for the negotiations will be under our presidency. So this is a huge responsibility that we have on our agenda. Of course, we have issues like the general issue of the enlargement. We have the enlargement negotiations for Iceland. Probably there will be the start of accession negotiations of Montenegro. And of course the whole enlargement portfolio. Also the common asylum policy will have to be concluded during our presidency, and a number of other important issues on the EU agenda. Now, as one of our priorities also. This is a Cypriot priority, is the relation between the European Union and our southern dimension of the European neighbourhood policy. And we intend to give emphasis during our presidency in the countries of the Arab Spring. We have some, I think, good ideas. I have been sharing these ideas with Lady Ashton, the High Representative for Common Foreign Policy and Security, and with the Commissioner Stefan Füle of Enlargement, whose responsibility is on the southern and the eastern neighborhood. So with this, I just wanted to finish my brief intervention, I hope. And I am at your disposal for it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, and we will open up for questions. Maybe as we reach the end of the question and answer session, we may well have heard from the UN Secretary General, and with the gift of technology we may be able to see what he said and be able to comment on that further. But can I open up for questions, and as we do that, just also welcome the High Commission as well to today's meeting. Who would like to start the question? Yes, please.
Minister, thank you very much for that very persuasive, eloquent account of where we are. I come from one of the mixed communities. I was born into one of the mixed communities that you referred to. Efkaristumen Parapolin, çok teşekkürler, hoş geldiniz Londra'ya. I wonder, Minister, whether it's realistic to talk in terms of going back to those days of bringing people together into communities that have been separated for as long as they have. And really, in addition to that, I'd also like to ask, I wonder, my Greek Cypriot compatriots, like you, I have many Greek Cypriot friends, although I come from the Turkish Cypriot side. I wonder whether the side of the island that has really been very successful, one of the most prosperous parts of the world, recognised by the rest of the world, recognised as part of the European Union, whether it's not time for my Greek Cypriot friends to show a degree of magnanimity, if you like, for the Turkish Cypriot compatriots that they have, perhaps with access to the outside world, direct access and removal, some of the more petty barriers to trade and communication, to travel. I'd love to take my mother, who's recently been widowed, back to Cyprus. She's disabled. It would be wonderful to be able to take her direct to Ercan rather than have to go through either in Larnaca or via Turkey. Sorry, a lengthy statement as much as a question.
Can you just give your name and whether you're here?
Sorry, my name is Alp Mehmet. My association, I have loose connections with Embargoed, and I'm a former British diplomat. I was ambassador to Iceland before I retired a few years ago.
Thank you very much.
Are they on record or out of record, the answers?
Sorry?
Are they on record, what the answer that would be, or off record?
Yeah, please, sir, it's a public meeting, absolutely.
Let me say first that I strongly believe that not only it is realistic to go back, but we have an obligation to go back to coexistence. I haven't seen anywhere around Europe, and I haven't seen anywhere, to be frank, around the world, any place where separation is the way. Coexistence is the natural. We don't have anything really to divide us. Religion has never been a problem. Tell me if it was. I don't think that there was ever a problem between the Christians and the Muslims inside. And I mentioned the Orthodox Church and the minaret. They were always next to each other. In fact, my mother and my grandmother They were going to the festivities of the Turkish Cypriots. They were sharing customs. And this is where I want to go back. I strongly want to go back to that period because I think it is possible and because I think we have an obligation. The easy thing would be to separate, but this would be unnatural. So we have an obligation, at least I feel I have an obligation, my memories, which are good memories, to share them with my children and my grandchildren, so that we can keep this hope alive, that we can be together again. So I am a strong believer coexistence. It is difficult, but we can do it. We have seen so many things that they seemed impossible during our lifetime, but we have seen these changes happening. We have seen it in Africa, we have seen it in Asia, we have seen it in Europe, we have seen a whole transformation of Europe. We see it happening now in the Arab Spring countries. So things that were seen as impossible in the past, we see them now being realized. So I don't share any pessimism, I don't share any approach of this being not realistic. It is realistic, provided that we want to do it. And when there is a will, there is a way. On the magnanimity, because I don't want you to feel that I didn't answer your. I will be very. I think that we have been already very magnanimous, because what was considered impossible, and that was a federal Cyprus, this is what we are aiming at. And I think a federalism and a federation is the best protection for the Turkish Cypriots, because in a federation there is no minority and majority. And this is magnanimity. So in a federal system, you don't have a minority and a majority. In Delaware, for example, Delaware, which is the smallest state of the United States, is no less important than California as far as participation in governance and participation in politics is concerned. Now, on the removal of barriers, I think that we already started with the Green Line regulation. We have the very important financial regulation, which is supporting since 2004 the development of the Turkish Cypriot community. We have the Green Line regulation. We are trying now, I am working with Stefan Fulle, the Commissioner, to see how we can improve or remove the obstacles that exist in the Green Line regulation. But definitely what you mentioned about the so-called Ercan, this is not possible, because that would be definitely crossing the line and recognizing that there is a separate state, which is not possible. Now, Lefkonico, or Ercan as you call it, from Larnaca is only 15 minutes drive. So if you come from that area, arriving in Larnaca is only a few minutes drive by car to go to anywhere in the north. So I don't think that this is...
So just to try and get as many questions in. Baroness Hussein and Nick Dubois.
Yes, I'm Baroness Hussein, member of the House of Lords and the only parliamentarian from a Turkish Cypriot background. And I'd like to welcome you, Dr Marcoullis. It's a pleasure to see you here, and especially a pleasure as you're a woman. It's good to see women coming out of Cyprus. Not many come here. I sometimes think if there were more women in senior positions in Cyprus and other places, we would have more sense. But that's a personal view. I have no disrespect to any of the men in the audience, but it's a very welcome thing. I have a couple of questions. I agree with a lot of what you said and the sentiments. I think we probably understand each other in terms of where my family grew up in similar circumstances as what you have described. My mother is a fluent Greek speaker. Her Greek is better than her English, although she's lived in this country for more than 50 years, so that's an interesting thing. I just wanted to ask you, in terms of Cyprus is taking over the presidency, as we know, on the 1st of July. We don't know, it's very frustrating, we're sitting here but we don't know what's happened. I've tried to have a quite quick glance at my BlackBerry, but we don't really know what's happened in the conclusion of the talks in Green Trees. But my worry is, and I think a lot of Turkish and Greek Cypriots worry it will be, that should these talks not succeed, what then? What happens then? Because you talked about we don't want a division. We have a division. We've had one since 1974. We've had generations growing up who have never mixed with each other. Fortunately, it's a bit more relaxed now that the borders have been open, but we've had Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot, two generations growing up who have never mixed, they've never had an experience of living or talking to one another or sharing the past, sharing the history that you described earlier. And my big concern is that this division will become permanent. And then what is the plan B if there is no will? Because it seems to me from what I read that the Republic of Cyprus has been putting a lot of effort into assuming the presidency, which is a very important thing, of course. But that's going to last for 6 months. 6 months after that, what then? What do you go back to? And that is my fear, that then we will just end up with a divided situation and it will become permanent. Because the United Nations have made it perfectly clear that this is the end game. There are no more chances. You know, they're not going to invest time and effort if there's going to be no progress. So that's my worry. The other thing is about you described the hydrocarbon findings, which is, of course is extremely interesting. But what discussions have taken place? There have been a lot of problems on that. What discussions did take place with Turkish Cypriots before these explorations took place? And the final point I would ask you is about something as simple as property. Property is a big issue for both sides. It's obviously there are more Greek Cypriots, but it's a big issue for both sides. There are many Turkish Cypriots living in this country who have to go to the European Court of Human Rights to get any satisfaction because in your government in 1991 passed an Act of Parliament preventing any Turkish Cypriot from getting either their property back or any compensation. I've had personal experience of this in my own family. And they have to go to the European Court of Human Rights. I know that in the north, in the Turkish Cypriot side, they have set up the Immovable Property Commission, which has been sanctioned by the European Commission. They have sanctioned this, and over £64 million has been paid out in compensation to people. So this is a good thing, but why isn't there something similar for Turkish Cypriots? Surely, someone like my mother, she's 80, she's going to die soon. What's going to happen then? Why do people have to keep waiting forever? Or why do they have to be dragged through the courts to get the same equality as you talked about? There should be some things that you can do that will make people's lives a bit easier and bring about a bit more confidence as well. Particularly for young people, when they want to go and play friendly matches, that sort of thing, in sporting and cultural activities, surely that's a good start to bring young people together.
Thank you for this. I think we do share a lot of common anxieties, at least about the future of our country. And I would love to continue discussing at some other time with you. And I think this is what is lacking, and this is what is missing. The dialogue, the discussion, the exchange of views, not only with the Turkish Cypriots, but I would dare to say with Turkey as well, because Turkey is a part of this. Turkey cannot remain, an independent observer of what is going on. Now, of course, the generations have been living apart. As you mentioned, two generations. My concern is that the generation of the 60s and 74 is already dying out. A lot of the displaced persons from both communities that have actually suffered the consequences of this displacement have already died. Their children have relocated, some of them within Cyprus, some of them outside Cyprus, some of them are already here in this room. New lives, no memories of sharing, and so this is a big concern that we have, and I have personally. So we have to make sure that we keep these memories of coexistence alive. Now, regarding Green Tree, as I said, I don't know what happened. I have a feeling that some more time will be given. But I totally agree, and I want to make it clear here that I cannot talk about an end game. This is not a game. Maybe it's a phrase, but I feel insulted. I feel insulted personally to use this phrase, because this is the future of our country. This is a very serious undertaking of both communities. We cannot say, we are fed up, or the Secretary General, he has no patience anymore. We have a responsibility. We have been doing this for the Palestinians and the Israelis. How many years? Since the 40s.
That's not a good example to use.
It's not a good example, but why do we lose hope, and why do we lose patience for Cyprus, and we don't lose hope and patience for other situations? So we have to persist. We have to be there. The UN has a responsibility, and this is a mandate given to the Secretary General by the Security Council. So the Security Council is the one that can remove this mandate from the Secretary General. And I don't think that the Security Council has removed this mandate from the Secretary General. So we need to persist. So if we don't have a solution now, or we don't have a solution before the 1st of July, and my wish is to have a solution before the 1st of July. I don't want to be misinterpreted. But if we don't, then what we have suggested, and I think what our side has suggested, is that we continue to have discussions. Probably not so frequent discussions at the leaders level, because of course our president will be very much preoccupied by the presidency, but at least to continue the discussions at the advisors level, at the technical experts level, because there are so many issues that we can keep this dialogue going on. Definitely, we are not in favor of interrupting completely the dialogue. So for us, the presidency is not an obstacle for continuing this dialogue. The presidency, as I mentioned, is a responsibility. It's not our choice. It's our responsibility, which goes along with our membership in the European Union. We cannot say to the European Union, we cannot undertake this responsibility. It's a responsibility that every member state has, and a right that every member state has. Now, on the property issue, because it's an issue that I feel it's very close to my heart, and let me first mention that property is very important for both communities. The property right is sacred for both communities. This is not just a house, this is not just a piece of land. For the Greek Cypriots, and I think also for a lot of Turkish Cypriots, this is where you belong, this is where your roots are. It's not a matter of selling this property and getting some money. It's a collective memory of your ancestors. This is how we feel, and we are attached very much not only to the property but to the specific location and to what this location carries with it. So let me very briefly say what our proposals are for property. And I think that if these proposals were accepted, they would have given plenty of space and plenty of room for both communities to make an informed decision on what they want to do with the property. So in our proposal we give 3 choices. First is restitution of the property. Second is compensation. And third is exchange. So we give 3 options. And it depends on the property owner.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt. Is
Yeah.
that now or is that a proposal?
No, this was a proposal. I mean,
I
this
see.
is, in fact,
Sorry,
I was
I
the
thought
one
That's not the case
responsible
now.
for drafting this
Right,
proposal.
okay, thank you. So I was confused. I thought you meant that's now. And I know
No,
it's
no, no,
the
not
case.
now. Not now. I mean,
Thank
this
you.
is our proposals on the table. So that, first of all, there is respect to the right of property, which is a human right. And this goes along with all the conventions on human rights of the Council of Europe, but internationally. It's a choice of the owner of the property, what he wants to do with his property or her property, whether to have a full or partial restitution, compensation, or exchange of property with property of the other community. So I think that if these proposals could be acceptable, we could find a common ground. Because your mother could choose compensation. I don't come from the occupied area, but I mean, a Greek Cypriot would choose whatever he wants to choose for his own property. I mean, the individual is the one who makes the decision. Nobody else can remove this right from an individual. So, you mentioned about Turkish Cypriot properties. I'm not...
Just briefly,
Yes.
just trying to get some more
Sure.
questions in.
Okay.
But
Okay.
again, can I just, before we ask...
Can I just ask about the hydrocarbon?
We'll come back to that.
Important.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
I was going to ask
You will
about
ask the question. But can I just follow, just the Secretary General's statement has been
Okay.
released. And so can I just tell you what he said, so that we can then comment on that.
Is that from the UN?
From the UN, yes. The two sides came to Green Tree with three main challenges to resolve: the election of the executive, property and citizenship. I asked the leaders to use this time to make decisive moves. Discussions over these 2 days were robust and intensive, although limited progress was achieved. I reminded the leaders that this process is Cypriot-owned and Cypriot-led. The UN is not here to impose solutions upon the sides. In terms of next steps, I propose that the sides complete the exchange of data on property within the next 2 weeks, to which they agreed. Today, my Special Advisor, Mr. Downer, will brief the Security Council in informal consultations. I will be providing a report to the Security Council on the status of the negotiations at the end of February. At the end of March, I will seek a review of the process from my Special Advisor, Alexander Downer. If his report is positive, consistent with relative Security Council resolutions, and following consultations with the two sides, I intend to call a multilateral conference in late April or early May. At this stage of the talks, to maintain the momentum and continue negotiations, even in an intensive manner, is not enough. I've urged the leaders to make decisive steps to move to a final agreement. The United Nations remain convinced that it is in the interest of all Cypriots to reach a durable settlement. My Special Advisor and his team have been doing their utmost to assist the process. They remain ready to assist the sides in this important task. Thank you very much. We could perhaps have comments on that, but just a question from Nick. Yes.
Well, actually, if I might say, Minister, I was going to ask you a question on hydrocarbons. But first of all, to thank you for your presentation. But I would be very interested in your reaction to that statement. But first on hydrocarbons, if I could. You suggested, and I agree, it's a new dynamic and a new opportunity. But given the time constraints and given the discussions going on now, how do you see it being a positive dynamic? Is it simply as an incentive to drive a solution for shared economic wealth? Or will it need to be something more substantial than that?
Okay. Let me answer first to the part of the question regarding hydrocarbons. There was no discussion during the negotiations in the most recent phase of the negotiations regarding the particular issue of the exploration and the drilling. But there has been already an agreement which has not been challenged regarding the responsibility for natural resources in the federal state. And this responsibility lies in the federal government. And this is something that has already been agreed by the two leaders in an earlier stage, and this is not something that has been challenged, as I said. So we are already in agreement, the two communities, that the natural resources, in this particular case the hydrocarbons, will be the responsibility of the federal state. So this is, I think, very important, and the fact that it has not been challenged, I think it is also extremely important. Now, yes, I see this as a very strong incentive, and not only an incentive for the Turkish Cypriots, because we're talking about a wealth that could possibly change the lives of Cypriots, not only for this generation, but for many, many generations to come. The estimated value of this single discovery in Block 12, as it is called, is estimated at about 200 million euro, and it will be sufficient. The natural gas from that particular block will be sufficient to cover the electricity needs for the island for 210 years. So, I mean, we're talking only about one of the 13 blocks. Now, we are building, and I think that we had the responsibility to start this process, because we are envisaging reunification. Now, this process will take 5 to 6 or maybe more years until we actually get revenue from these discoveries. So there is ample time. There is ample time for both communities to reach an agreement. And of course, with reunification, with this agreement that we have reached, that natural resources will be under the responsibility of the federal government, in which of course both communities will be participating, then this wealth, this significant wealth, will be for the advantage and for the benefit of both communities. But also I want to mention also benefits for Turkey itself. Turkey is not an energy producing country, but is a hub. It's an energy, it's a corridor of energy transport. So Turkey also stands to benefit from reunifying the island and cooperating with a federal Cyprus for the transport or for the exploitation of this natural gas and the hydrocarbons. So it is a win-win as I see it. And it could provide really a strong incentive for all of us, and I include also the Greek Cypriots, and also for our neighbors. I mentioned earlier the cooperation that we envisage between Israel, Egypt, Lebanon, and the other countries in the region. Provided, of course, that we use it wisely, and of course we envisage a wealth fund, similar like in Norway, in Qatar, in some of the other countries, that will secure that these resources are used for many generations to come. So in that sense, I think it could be a win-win situation for all.
Right, we're running a bit short of time. There's lots of questions, so we'll take a round of questions. And can we avoid statements and preambles? Just let's make them questions. And so there's a hand there, and then yourself, please. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm Mr. Veli. I'm very pleased to hear about the cultural heritage that the Minister mentioned, because I've been campaigning for the protection of cultural heritage in Cyprus, north and south, for many years, and I've also been very critical of the management of the Turkish government in the north on Greek cultural heritage, and I have to apologise for that. But my question is that we are talking about a Republic of Cyprus that is recognised in the European Union, who does actually, speak lovely, eloquent words about bringing people together. And yet, my research has shown that out of 265 cultural sites in the south belonging to Turkish Cypriots, I'm referring to mosques, cemeteries, etc., only 30 are in good condition. The 235, and I have the pictures, the locations and everything, have either been destroyed, with even bones showing in the cemeteries, and some of the mosques have been destroyed and turned into car parks. How do we reconcile the difference between good words and deeds on the ground? Because I believe by both sides making a big effort to actually preserve these sites, that's one way of bringing our two people together, to respect each other's past, present and future. That's not a statement, I'm asking a question.
The question's come up there. Another question?
Can I answer that?
Okay,
I'll take
it.
I'm a Turkish Cypriot as well. Thank you for coming to speak to us.
Can you speak louder?
Right, so my name is Ergin Ballı. I'm a Turkish Cypriot as well. Thank you for coming to speak to us.
Thank you for coming also.
Thank you. I just want to go back to the question asked by Mehmet here about embargoes, because according to my dictionary definition of magnanimity, an agreement to do something in the future is not a magnanimous gesture. So, I think you haven't answered the question. It would be, I think, respectful to the people here, the Turkish Cypriots here, if you asked, full on, if you answer the question about lifting the embargoes and isolations placed on the Turkish Cypriots message.
Just following it around. Yes, absolutely.
My name is Marie Parisinu Nicosby, and I represent Alkyonides charity, the Halcyon Days charity. I grew up in Cyprus at the English school, together with Turkish Cypriot children and other minorities, and I grew up with a loss because my parents lost their properties in 1963 in North Nicosia behind the Lidro Palace, which is now the Green Line. Through my work with Alkyonides, I represented Cyprus in Geneva through the Women's Federation of World Peace, and I'm trying to bring some kind of solutions through the charity. I think through Europe, the Cypriot government has helped a lot the Turkish Cypriot people. They have equal rights, and they have the right to attend the hospitals. The oncology hospital offers great services to our brothers, the Turkish Cypriots. Here in London, we have a house which we offer to all Cypriots who need it, who come to hospitals in London for lengthy periods, whether they are Greek or Turkish Cypriots. My mother was a pharmacist and radiologist at the hospital under the British, and worked closely with Turkish Cypriot colleagues, especially Mrs. Aziz, who was a very personal friend. I hope 1963 is included in your negotiations, and we are very proud to have a woman Minister of Foreign Affairs, which shows that we are very progressive, our little island. Thank you.
Hello, I'm a Turkish Cypriot. Thank you very much for coming. You said some. My name is Engin Deniz Vetbi. I'm from Nicosia, and you said some very nice things about a better future for the island, and that Turkish Cypriots are indispensable compatriots, and we need to heal the wounds. So with those, I totally agree. And I believe in brotherly relations between Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots. But I will now mention a subject which is at the moment poisoning the relations between the two sides. This subject is about Turkish Cypriots that get married to a non-Turkish Cypriot, or that have children with a non-Turkish Cypriot. And there are tens of thousands of people in this situation, and they are being rejected citizenship just because of their mothers or fathers, or even just because of a single grandparent's citizenship, because they are either from Turkey or another country. So,
okay,
just a second.
That's a good question.
And imagine this child with a single non-Turkish Cypriot grandparent, and he cannot become a citizen of the Republic of Cyprus, and all of his friends can travel freely around Europe, but this child is punished, and I would like to ask you.
You've made a good point. The point has been made, well made.
Okay, just a question.
The question is:
do you agree with this racist procedure?
Okay.
And are you going to allow this to poison the relations?
You've made the point. Just and then I'll get some good. Yes.
Thank you. Recently, Mr. Erato has made some statements with reference to the solution of Cyprus, and he has been very intransigent in what he has been saying. He has said, no return to Morphu, 2 separate states. He wants to control all the land in the north. He always wants to have an international personality. He wants the majority of the Turkish Cypriots to own the property in the north. He wants the Turkish Cypriots in the north and the Greek Cypriots in the south. I'm not saying this. This is documented in the papers. Very clear. My question, Minister, is why do you think that the Turkish Cypriots and the Turkey do not follow laid down mandates of the UN resolution and the rule of law to a solution for our country? My second question is regarding the isolation of the Turkish Cypriots. To me, that's a myth.
About what?
The isolation of the Turkish Cypriots. That is a myth.
Don't respond to the question.
No, and I've got a question to it, yes. The Turkish Cypriots are citizens of the Republic of Cyprus. How are we going to address over 250,000 colonists who are now living in the occupied territories?
We're running out of time. We may just need to we'll get this, and then there's a question at the back there.
My name is Ken McGuinness. I've been a parliamentarian for 29 years. I was one of the people who negotiated the Belfast Agreement.
Speak a little bit louder, please.
I was one of the people who negotiated the Belfast Agreement.
Okay.
Can you tell me, because I listened to what I thought was a very balanced, if not slightly platitudinous delivery, and you used the word bicommunal quite regularly. Yet when it comes to the IPC, the Immovable Properties Commission, it is the Greek Cypriot government that prevents Greek Cypriots from taking advantage of the system that was put in place in the north. I notice, again, when you talk about bicommunal, you talk about the occupied territories and the people who have come in there. I haven't heard a word about the Russian influx in the south of the island, and I begin to wonder if you've got a slightly biased view on that. Can I ask, in terms of bicommunal approaches, whether in fact, or how many times in fact, over the last 6 months or a year that you've been in office, you've actually had discussions with your opposite number, Hussein Özgürgen, or is that not allowed because you've been giving recognition? Surely if you believe in a bicommunal approach, and there are many other examples I could give, if you believe in a bicommunal approach, it should be bicommunal before the event.
I just find it for you to see time. Yes.
Thank you. Can I thank Mr. Burrowes for hosting this event and the Minister for her talk. My question flows from the prospect of partition here in the United Kingdom. If one follows what is going on in Scotland, one can see the dangers of fragmenting a state into various zones and giving power, or taking power away from the centre and transferring it to regions. How closely is the Republic of Cyprus following the prospect of secession, the prospect of Scottish secession from the United Kingdom? And if Scotland secedes from the European Union, does the Republic of Cyprus believe that it will stay within the European Union, or would it have to apply to join as a separate state? And if the latter, would the Republic of Cyprus exercise a veto to block Scotland from joining the European Union?
There are too many questions, but I think this is an indication of the anxiety we all feel in this room for what is going on in our country, in Cyprus, and it's an anxiety which is felt, I think, and is included in every question that. Now, cultural heritage. Yes, cultural heritage is important for every community, for every people, and we have to show respect, and we have to make sure that we do not destroy, we do not loot, we do not erase the cultural character of an area, but also the people. Okay, if there were cases that you can mention, you mentioned 265 cultural heritage sites. Were these mosques? I don't think that there were so many mosques that have been cemeteries. Okay, if this was done, and it is proven that it was done, then it was very bad. And I want to make this very clear. But what is going on at this particular point, and I'm glad that you sort of apologized on behalf of the Turkish army, because the Turkish army is responsible for all this destruction, which is an ongoing destruction of the Christian, but also the archaeological cultural heritage in the occupied area. In fact, this is a cultural heritage that belongs to all the people of Cyprus, not only the Greek Cypriots, but also the Maronites, the Armenians, the Turkish Cypriots. This is our common cultural heritage. This is what we have to show to the outside world, and we feel very proud of the how old our civilization is, and this is something that could benefit both communities in a reunified Cyprus. So if there were cases of destruction, these are condemnable, no question about it. But what has been going on and is going on at the moment we speak right now in the occupied area, regarding the churches, regarding the looting, all the churches, as you know, they have been stripped completely. If you go to any, except 4 churches, is the Portcullis Barnabas, but these are not the original icons. They have been removed, and now they have it as a museum, which is not as it was. So the majority of these 500 churches and the monasteries have been looted completely. Nobody knows where the 60,000+ of items belonging to these churches are. As you know, we are purchasing back all these religious items from auctions abroad. So this is an ongoing process that is definitely condemnable. And we have to do everything we can to stop it, or to get these treasures back, to identify where they are. Now on the embargo, again, and this is tied also with the so-called isolation of the Turkish Cypriots. This is part and parcel, unfortunately, of the declaration of a so-called separate state in 1983. There was this declaration which was condemned. This is something, you know, I don't think it's questionable. It was condemned by the international community. There are Security Council resolutions, 541, 550, which are very, very clear, and this is a guidance and a guideline to all member states, including, of course, the Republic of Cyprus, that no recognition, no assistance to this, as it is called in the resolution, secessionist entity. So this is what you refer to as embargo, what you refer to as isolation, is the end result of this illegal declaration of so-called independence. And the only way to lift this embargo, as you call it, or lift the isolation, is through reunification of the island and through participation of both communities in a reunited country, in a country that will be recognized as a whole by the international community. So opening up, let's say, airports or ports, this is not possible because the international community, through ICAO, through IMO, through international organizations, recognize states, and this TRNC is not a state, is not recognized by the international community. I'm trying to, I mean, there are so many. Lord McInnes, you mentioned about the occupied territory. I mean, the fact that there are 45,000 Turkish troops on that part of our territory, doesn't it make it occupied? It's unoccupied territory. What else can we call it? And you mentioned about the Russian influx. How can you compare that? How can you compare citizens of a third country that have legally purchased, let's say, property, and some of them they chose to live, not permanently, but they live for vacation, the same way that they live also in London, in Paris, in the United States, everywhere in the world. You cannot say, you know, that we ban Russians from living in Cyprus or from purchasing property in Cyprus.
Well, you asked me a question, and very briefly I answered.
Yeah.
Very briefly I answered since well.
Excuse me. Another people not comments. And Lord McGuinness, Lord McGuinness, can you please respect the chair? Lord McGuinness. Okay. I need to just because we are running to. Please, can people not respond to other people making comments?
This is Parliament.
Now,
we are in Parliament.
now, excuse me. Can everyone please be silent? We've just got some other question answered. Just to pick up on one or two. Mention was made about the issue of citizenship.
Okay.
And maybe able to comment on the other one as well.
Bi-communal. That wasn't answered.
Okay.
Bi-communal, of course, bi-communal.
You don't need to raise
No.
Okay.
Of course, bi-communal. I mean, this is what we have agreed, to have a bi-communal, bi-zonal, federal state. And you mentioned about my so-called counterpart. Of course, I don't recognize him as a counterpart because he is a representative of a secessionist entity, as it is described in the resolutions that I fully respect, and I think that all countries should respect. Now, regarding this issue of intermarriage, I think it is a very sensitive issue. I think that citizenship has already been granted to a very large number of Turkish citizens who have married in Cyprus, Turkish Cypriots. But these are not very large numbers. You mentioned about thousands. These are not so large numbers. And of course, this will be a part of the general agreement to be reached. As you know, already our president has accepted during the negotiations that this particular group of people from the settlers will remain. We are talking about the Turkish citizens who have married Turkish Cypriots and also their children, that they will remain on the island, and of course they will be given citizenship of the reunited Federal Republic. This we have already accepted. So this is going to be a part of the agreement that will be reached in all the issues that are being discussed.
So are you saying that 15,000 people
sorry,
need to wait until
just in terms of timing. I'm just saying in terms of time, we haven't got time for too much for
There
dialogue.
are 200,000 Greek Cypriots who are prevented to go back to their homes, and you're talking about 15,000 that have...
There's a Scottish question and also...
okay, very good. There are fundamental differences between what is going on in Scotland and, of course, what is happening in Cyprus with an invasion, with an occupation, with a declaration of a secessionist entity. I don't know whether there was an invasion in Scotland when, and if there was an influx of settlers in Scotland. So these are two completely different things. I'm not aware.
This island is made of an influx of settlers.
Okay, but back centuries ago.
George, state the final round of words.
Well, let me say, some final things. I know that I have not answered a lot of the questions. I see parts and pieces of this question on this paper, but what I wanted to give as a final message is that, and also as a plea to all of you, British citizens of Turkish Cypriot background or Greek Cypriot background or British citizens. I think we have all a huge responsibility. If you share our vision, if you share a vision of a reunited Cyprus, if we share this vision, I think we have a responsibility to make it happen. I know that it sounds difficult. I know that there are many conflicting interests, but what remains important is that we make this vision a reality. We owe it to our ancestors, we owe it to the young people of Cyprus who want a better future. And we owe it to the future generation of Cypriots. That's my message, and I think that if we work in that direction of reunification, of coexistence, which are remarkable principles, and if we have seen this happen elsewhere, we can see it happen in Cyprus.
Well, can I? No, but we've run out of time. No, please, sorry. No, sorry. Time's run out. Maybe time's afterwards. No, sorry. Can I just? We've now run out of time, and I just want to, on your behalf, very much thank the Minister for coming forward. Really, in your sentiment, in your tone, in your manner, very much expressing a future and a brighter future, which one is based on a solution to the Cyprus problem. We've just heard from the UN Secretary General, the United Nations, and indeed it must be the case that this all-party group remains convinced that it's in the interest of all Cypriots to reach a durable settlement, and we can play our part through the dialogue and discussion that we've heard from both communities here today, and we'll continue to do as we meet as a party group to see how best we can continue to further that cause. So I thank everyone for coming, and on your behalf, thank you very much to the Minister. Yeah, if you want to do that. It's just I put a brush on.
Yes, sure. No problem. Examining a number of cases, and each case, of course, is different. The easiest cases are those that got married in Turkey. They are not from settler. So, if, for example, the Turkish Cypriot was in Turkey, the Turkish citizen was a student there while working, then these are cases which are much clearer and they get citizenship.
It has happened with my mother. They have been married for 50 years, long before 1977. And she's not a good citizen. They've been in 60 years,
Να ξεκινήσω πρώτα με κάποιες από τις επαφές που είχα σήμερα. Ξεκίνησα με ένα πρόγευμα εργασίας με τον Υπουργό Ευρώπης, τον κύριο David Burrowes, με τον οποίο βέβαια έχω αρκετές επαφές στις Βρυξέλλες κατά τη διάρκεια των Συμβουλίων Γενικών Υποθέσεων. Είχαμε όμως την ευκαιρία σήμερα κατά τη διάρκεια του της πρωινής συνάντησης να συζητήσουμε ένα ευρύ θέμα, θα έλεγα, θεμάτων, το οποίο περιλαμβάνει και το Κυπριακό και τις τελευταίες εξελίξεις αναφορικά με τις συνομιλίες, αλλά και ένα πολύ μεγάλο κομμάτι της συζήτησης ήταν για την Προεδρία, την Κυπριακή Προεδρία του Συμβουλίου της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Είναι θέματα τα οποία εμπίπτουν στις αρμοδιότητες του κ. Λίτινγκτον και έτσι είχαμε την ευκαιρία να ανταλλάξουμε απόψεις και να δούμε πώς μπορεί και το Ηνωμένο Βασίλειο να βοηθήσει και να συνδράμει στην επιτυχία της Κυπριακής Προεδρίας. Είχαμε βέβαια την ευκαιρία να μιλήσουμε και για πολλά άλλα διεθνή θέματα, όπως είναι οι εξελίξεις σε χώρες της Αραβικής Άνοιξης, οι εξελίξεις της Συρίας, στο Ιράν, θέματα τα οποία συζητήσαμε στο τελευταίο Συμβούλιο Εξωτερικών Υποθέσεων της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Στη συνέχεια είχα μια συνάντηση με την Επιτροπή Συγγενών Αγνοωμένων Ηνωμένου Βασιλείου, ένα θέμα το οποίο είναι επώδυνο για πάρα πολλά χρόνια τώρα. Μοιράστηκα μαζί τους τις πολλές ανησυχίες, την πολλή αγωνία και τον πολύ πόνο που αισθάνονται οι συγγενείς των αγνοωμένων και επίσης ανταλλάξαμε απόψεις πώς μπορεί να είναι πιο αποτελεσματική μια, θα έλεγα, διεθνής εκστρατεία, ευρωπαϊκή αλλά και διεθνής εκστρατεία, η οποία επιτέλους να αναγκάσει την Τουρκία, η οποία είναι υπόχρεη να δώσει πληροφορίες και δεν έχει δώσει μέχρι σήμερα αναφορικά με την τύχη των αγνοωμένων και επίσης να επιτρέψει πρόσβαση σε περιοχές οι οποίες θεωρούνται έχουν κριθεί από την Τουρκία ως απαγορευμένες στρατιωτικές ζώνες, να επιτρέψει πρόσβαση σε αυτές τις περιοχές, ώστε να μπορεί η Διερευνητική Επιτροπή Αγνοωμένων να διεξάγει όλες τις έρευνες για τον εντοπισμό των αγνοωμένων. Είχα σήμερα επίσης αυτή την πολύ σημαντική συνάντηση εδώ με το Interparliamentary Party Group για την Κύπρο της Βουλής των Κοινοτήτων, που πραγματικά με συγκίνησε και το ενδιαφέρον και των μελών του Κοινοβουλίου, αλλά και ιδιαίτερα όλων των συμμετασχόντων, οι οποίοι προέρχονται συμμετέχονταν και από την ελληνοκυπριακή και από την τουρκοκυπριακή κοινότητα του Ηνωμένου Βασιλείου, οι οποίοι πιστεύω ότι ο καθένας με τον δικό του τρόπο εξέφρασαν την αγωνία τους για την συνεχιζόμενη διαίρεση της πατρίδας μας. Είναι ένα θέμα το οποίο θα πρέπει, και το μήνυμα το οποίο ήθελα να δώσω είναι ότι πρέπει όλοι να εργαστούμε προς αυτή την κατεύθυνση, να εργαστούμε προς την κατεύθυνση της επανένωσης της πατρίδας μας, του τερματισμού της κατοχής, της αποχώρησης όλων των ξένων στρατευμάτων, της αποχώρησης των επίκων, οι οποίοι είναι ένα ξένο στοιχείο το οποίο έχει εισαχθεί από την Τουρκία και το οποίο αυτή τη στιγμή κινδυνεύει η ίδια η ταυτότητα των Τουρκοκυπρίων από αυτή την μεγάλη συρροή επίκων στις κατεχόμενες περιοχές. Όλα αυτά τα θέματα ήταν μέσα στα θέματα που συζητήσαμε, όπως και επίσης το θέμα της καταστροφής της πολιτιστικής κληρονομιάς, που είναι ένα θέμα που συνεχίζεται να εκτελήσεται στις κατεχόμενες περιοχές. Όμως το μήνυμα, και πιστεύω και το μήνυμα το οποίο ήρθε από τη Νέα Υόρκη, είναι ότι πρέπει να συνεχίσουν οι διαπραγματεύσεις. Δεν έχουμε δικαίωμα να σταματήσουμε αυτή την προσπάθεια. Η προσπάθεια μας πρέπει να είναι η επανένωση της πατρίδας μας και η προσπάθεια μας πρέπει να είναι να καταλήξουμε σε μια συμφωνία η οποία να είναι αποδεκτή και από τις δύο κοινότητες. Καμιά επιβολή λύσης δεν πρέπει να επιτραπεί και οπωσδήποτε τα τεχνικά ή οποιαδήποτε άλλα χρονοδιαγράμματα δεν μπορούν να γίνουν αποδεκτά.
Με τη Σκιώδη Υπουργό
με τη Σκιώδη Υπουργό είχα την ευκαιρία να συναντηθώ και στην προηγούμενη μου συνάντηση, αλλά σε αυτή την κατηδία επαφή σίγουρα θα έχουμε μια ανταλλαγή απόψεων και ενημέρωση σχετικά με τις εξελίξεις στο Κυπριακό, με το θέμα της Προεδρίας μας και σίγουρα με το θέμα των υδρογοναθράκων, το οποίο είναι ένα νέο στοιχείο που κατά την άποψή μας αποτελεί ένα σημαντικό κίνητρο και για την επίλυση του Κυπριακού, αλλά και για μια Κύπρο η οποία θα δίνει νέες προοπτικές και για την Κύπρο αλλά και τους κατοίκους της Κύπρου.
Στο Βρετανό, ποια ήταν η αντίδραση του όσον αφορά γενικότερα το Κυπριακό, ήταν η αντιληπτική θέση. Ας σας εξέφρασε αυτό.
Ώστε οι θέσεις οι βρετανικές είναι γνωστές. Εμένα η υποχρέωση μου είναι να ενημερώνω για τις δικές μας θέσεις και η προσπάθεια μας είναι να γίνονται όσο το δυνατόν πιο κατανοητές οι δικές μας οι θέσεις, ούτως ώστε να γίνονται και πιο αποδεκτές όχι μόνο από την Βρετανική κυβέρνηση αλλά με όλες τις κυβερνήσεις με τις οποίες έχουμε συναντήσει και συνομιλούμε. Όπως είπα, ήταν μια πολύ καλή συνάντηση. Πιστεύω ότι ήταν ένα πολύ θετικό κλίμα σε όλη τη διάρκεια της συνάντησης αυτής και οπωσδήποτε δεν είναι ούτε η πρώτη ούτε η τελευταία συνάντηση, θα έχουμε μια συνέχιση.
Κύριε Υπουργέ, πώς απαντάτε στις δηλώσεις του κυρίου Αλεξάνδρα Ντάουνα ειδικά για την ελληνοκυπριακή προεδρία και όχι την προεδρία της Κυπριακής Δημοκρατίας?
Κοιτάξτε, η Κυπριακή Δημοκρατία είναι εκεί. Η Κυπριακή Δημοκρατία είναι το αναγνωρισμένο κράτος της διεθνούς κοινότητας. Είναι το κράτος μέλος της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης και όχι μόνο ο κύριος Ντάουνερ, αλλά όλοι και ιδιαίτερα αξιωματούχοι των ΗΠΑ πρέπει να το σέβονται και πρέπει να το αναγνωρίσουν. Όχι, να σας πω, δεν συζητήσαμε λεπτομέρειες για το Greenfield, γιατί όπως γνωρίζετε δεν είχαν ανακοινωθεί ακόμα τα αποτελέσματα. Η δική μου προσπάθεια βέβαια ήταν να πω ότι θα πρέπει να συνεχίσουν οι διαπραγματεύσεις, θα πρέπει να συνεχίσει αυτή η προσπάθεια, δεν πρέπει να τεθούν τεχνητά χρονοδιαγράμματα όπως είναι η 1η Ιουλίου για παράδειγμα, η οποία δεν έχει καμία απολύτως σχέση με τις συνομιλίες ή με τη λύση του Κυπριακού. Είναι μια ημερομηνία ανάληψης υποχρεώσεων εκ μέρους της Κυπριακής Δημοκρατίας, τις οποίες υποχρεώσεις αναλαμβάνει κάθε κράτος μέλος της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης.
Κύριε Υπουργέ, τι να μείνετε από την επίσκεψη του Νετανιάχου τον επόμενο μήνα? Τι να μένουμε?
Βεβαίως είναι μια ακόμα υψηλού επίπεδου συνάντηση, επίσκεψη. Είχαμε πρόσφατα την επίσκεψη του Πρόεδρου Πέρες, είχαμε την επίσκεψη του δικού δικού μας του Πρόεδρου της Δημοκρατίας στο Ισραήλ τον περασμένο Μάιο. Είχαμε πάρα πολλές ανταλλαγές μεταξύ των δύο χωρών και οι σχέσεις των δύο χωρών, όπως γνωρίζετε, είναι σε πάρα πολύ ψηλό και καλό επίπεδο. Προβλέπεται υπογραφή κάποιων σημαντικών συμφωνιών και νομίζω ότι προχωρούμε πολύ καλά με τις σχέσεις μας με το Ισραήλ. Όπως βεβαίως θέλω να τονίσω ότι προχωρούμε και με τις σχέσεις μας με τον αραβικό κόσμο, που είναι μακρόχρονες και πολύ σημαντικές και πολύτιμες οι σχέσεις μας με όλες τις χώρες του αραβικού κόσμου.
Ευχαριστούμε κύριε Υπουργό.